Thanks so much for showing us around your amazing salmon hatchery, Fred. It's such a great chance to learn more about our coastal ecosystem and fishy friends.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure. Now let's have a look in this pen here. You can see some baby coho. Do you see them just swimming around in there?
Yeah, how long do they live here?
They live here for about a year until they're big enough to survive in the wild.
Well, how do these salmon get from here to the ocean?
That's a great question, Lolo. Well, once they're big enough, we move them to this pen here. And then we open the gate, they swim down the ladder into the river, and then they follow the river out to the ocean. In June, we have a salmon release day. We invite kids and their parents to come and carry buckets of baby salmon and release them into the river. You just get to watch them swim away.
That sounds amazing. I would love to do that.
Yeah, me too.
So swift, bigger every day you drift, drift by drift, as the water shift, in your river home you drift. Run, salmon, 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 run, your story is a circle, beneath the moon and sun across the whole world. Run, salmon, run, your story is a circle, beneath the moon and sun across the whole world. Run, salmon, run, salmon, run, salmon, run. Swim, fish, swim, a flash of silver skin. Returning to your home, you swim. Swim, fish, swim, a splash of tail and fins. Your story ends in